Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so very happy to spend this time with you. And thank you for being here. And I love being able to share what I've learned over the years and being able to share things that can help you live a thriving, healthy, happy, more prosperous, more productive, amazing life. So that's why I'm here, and I'm so excited to have you join me. So thank you for being here. And I'm really excited about this particular webinar today. I did a shorter version of this a year and a half ago when we all could get together. And it was October 19th, 2019. And I spoke at the Sacramento Vegan Food Festival. It was awesome. It was awesome. We took up an entire city block in downtown Sacramento. It was the park, Cesar Chavez Park. And we thought, maybe we'll get a couple thousand people. Try 7,000 people. 7,000 people that came out for that particular day. It was amazing. And so we had 3 different parts of the festival, and I got to be one of the speakers. In fact, I was the final speaker for the Sacramento Vegan Food Festival. It was awesome. So I put this on the list as one of the webinars that I wanted to present to all of you. So lots of good information that I'm really excited about sharing with you today. I want to start off this conversation with a story. A lot of times I have stories to share. So one of the things that happened for me is that I started to get some insights as to how maybe what I thought I knew about nutrition wasn't all that it was cut out to be. Just maybe. And so how that started for me, what really jolted me into really looking at nutrition in a whole different way, was back in 1981. Hard to imagine. Time flies, but I was doing autopsies as a pathologist assistant at the Los Robles Regional Medical Center. So 2 things happened for me. One, in doing autopsies and assisting the pathologist, I had to learn how to do dissection and extraction and being able to do preparation of the tissues for microscopic examination. I had to do all that stuff. And I had one of my distinct duties was to take the entire intestinal tract of every single person. And most of them had passed away from complications of chronic disease. So I had to take their entire intestinal tract out of the body cavity, lift it, and put it into a big, deep wash basin. Now, mind you, it's a lot. Most people have no idea. The intestinal tract of a human being is long. It's long. We're talking 17 to 20 plus feet. It's long. It's a long way to go. So I would lift this entire intestinal tract out of the body cavity, put it in this deep wash basin, and then I would have to take my surgical scissors and slice it open and wash it all out by hand. I'm sorry that you're eating, Ann. I know that you're eating, but yeah, I got to tell the story. So the thing is, I had to wash all of it out by hand. So you could say that I got up close and personal with everybody's you know what. So the thing is, I ended up really having to deal with all that. Now, of course, I was gowned and masked and gloved and all that stuff. I had to, but it was a nasty job. And it was particularly nasty in people who had died from complications of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, aneurysms, you name the chronic condition, we saw it. It was amazing, even Alzheimer's. I saw the intestinal tract, and what was interesting to notice was that the intestinal tract of every single person who had died from a complication of a chronic disease condition their intestinal tract all looked the same. All looked the same. Their intestinal tract was wiped out. It was flat. All the folds that are normally there were much flattened. There was very, very few folds. And there was oftentimes this kind of what we call a mucoid plaque. So there's this slimy, greasy layer. It sort of looked like the hard Crisco oil stuck on the inside of the intestinal tract. And so it was stuck there. And so it was really nasty. And by the way, the odor was horrific. And if you weren't prepared, it would knock you on your butt. So I did that dissection on every single person. Now, we had autopsies quite frequently. I did well over 75 autopsies. So I got to see this a lot. It was quite frequent. So that was very fascinating. It was fascinating to see and to witness firsthand. And I got to feel, there were circumstances where I actually got to feel polyps. I could feel the diverticuli openings. I could feel the cancers in the colon. I felt that as I'm opening up, I could actually come across that. So it was rather an interesting firsthand experience. Most medical students never do an autopsy, and most physicians never do an autopsy. They're only required to observe one, that's it. So I got my hands into it. I got to see it firsthand. Now, the thing that really jolted me as far as being able to think about nutrition was a particular autopsy. It was a woman in her mid-70s, had come to the hospital with shortness of breath. They just barely started to do the workup, and then she passed away within just a couple of hours. Now, back then, if a person passes away within 24 hours of admission, an autopsy was required by law. So the next day, Dr. Glover, the senior pathologist, and I started to do the autopsy. So we started to do the autopsy on this woman. So mid-70s, as we began to do the autopsy, Dr. Glover stopped me and he said, "Ruben, take very careful note. We may never see this again. Proceed cautiously." And he was absolutely correct. Here was a woman in her mid-70s who didn't look like all the rest at all. At all. Everybody else looked like a dead person. They were really sick. This person, this woman, she looked like a healthy person who was asleep. It was a little freaky. She was fit. She was vibrant looking. She had amazing fitness to her. As we started to do the internal investigation, it was absolutely mind-blowing because her internal organs were as pristine, beautiful, flawless as a newborn. How could this be? Dr. Glover was flabbergasted. He'd never seen this. Now, mind you, he had been a pathologist at that point for almost 20 years and a surgeon before that for 7 years. He had never seen this. In fact, she had zero body fat in the omentum, the belly fat. Zero. Her omentum was completely clear. You could see right through it to the intestinal tract. Never had seen that before. Now, when I dissected her intestinal tract, now I will tell you this first. So I dissected her intestinal tract. It was a very different experience because her intestinal tract was vibrant. It had color. It was, all the folds were there. It was amazing. And the odor was almost non-existent. It was very, very different odor. And it was easy to clean out, easy to wash out. And there was no mucoid plaque in there at all whatsoever. None. Careful dissection revealed that this woman had an undiagnosed heart defect, what we call a ventral septal defect. Now, usually it's easily correctable, but it wasn't caught with her. And Dr. Glover said, "This is remarkable. Most people with this defect would rarely live past their 20s if it's not diagnosed. He was fascinated, and he asked to meet with the family because he wanted to share personally what he had found, and he wanted to ask more. So I got to sit in at that meeting, and Dr. Glover said and shared what he had discovered and what he had learned, and he was so impressed with the health and the condition of her body. And he asked, how did she live? Isn't that a great question? How did she live? Well, the family member shared that she was a Seventh-day Adventist who followed the rules. No meat, no dairy, no eggs, no alcohol, no processed food, no refined sugar, no junk whatsoever, only whole foods, only plant-based. She had a garden in her backyard. She walked 5 miles a day every day for over 40 years that they knew about. Wow. Wow. The evidence was irrefutable. It was absolutely irrefutable. It was right there in our hands. We got to see it up close and personal. It was just amazing. And Dr. Glover and I started to have a series of conversations discussing the connection between lifestyle and longevity, lifestyle and health. You see, Dr. Glover was my first lifestyle medicine mentor. He himself was a runner, very knowledgeable about nutrition, very conscientious about nutrition, and very conscientious about his lifestyle. Absolutely. An incredible human being. He practiced medicine until the age of 86. Amazing. Like, who does that anymore, right? So I started to look into these people called the Seventh-day Adventists and started coming across research from the Blue Zones and that group of people, the 5 longest living groups of people on the face of the planet. It was remarkable, absolutely remarkable. So I started to make some changes for myself based on what I was learning. And it was really quite extraordinary. And I started to question all the information that I had learned about nutrition and all the ideas and the beliefs that everybody had imposed on me through my life at that point, and started to question it. And it was really quite remarkable. So what I want to share with you today is what's on my plate. Not only what do I put on my plate, but why? Why? So I want to share, it's a very personal story, that is journey that I have that I'd love to be able to share with you today. So that's what we're going to go through. So let me set up to go back to the PowerPoint. So let's see here. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Here we are. So my name, Ruben J. Guzman, MPH does not stand for the speed that I drive my car. Okay, so it stands for Masters in Public Health, and I got that degree from UCLA back in 1988. And when I finished my degree, I had a very important decision to make. Do I or do I not return to UC Davis School of Medicine to complete my training in becoming a physician? And I realized at that point in 1988 that I was passionate about promoting health and preventing disease, and I was no longer interested in treating disease. So as a result, I chose to study lifestyle medicine on my own, even though there was no field of medicine called lifestyle medicine back then. I was ahead of my time. So I started to do that, and I went into healthcare administration, but my passion was being able to really study lifestyle medicine. In 2016, I went to a conference on nutrition and healthcare, and they announced a new branch of the American Medical Association, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. I was thrilled and delighted. I had not heard about this. And so I was so excited, I signed up. An evidence-based approach to prevent, reverse, and treat chronic disease using lifestyle measures in nutrition, physical activity, emotional well-being, alcohol, tobacco reduction, healthy relationships, hydration, and sleep, as opposed to medications. And guess what? When it comes to chronic disease, we do a better job. And it's awesome. 2017, October 2017, went to my first lifestyle medicine conference. They announced board certification openings for the first time for physicians, MDs, and DOs, but also a board certification classification for professionals open to PhDs and those with a master's in a health-related field. That's me. Signed up, studied for a year. In October 2018, went to my second lifestyle medicine conference. And after the conference, I sat for and passed the board exam. So I'm one of just very few, the first groups of board certified lifestyle medicine physicians and professionals in the entire world. And I'm so proud. I couldn't be more proud. It's just awesome, awesome, awesome. So it's amazing. I have found my tribe. It took me 30 years to find my tribe, but I have found my tribe. I am also a member of the Institute of Coaching from McLean Hospital associated with Harvard Medical School. And I'm very proud of that because that's exactly the type of coaching that I practice. It's lifestyle medicine oriented coaching. Now, I also get to live into this quote that Thomas Edison said well over 100 years ago, that the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will instruct his patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. And that's what I get to do every single day. And this is what lifestyle medicine is all about. I also want to let you know that I have absolutely zero, zilch, nada, no conflicts of interest whatsoever. No products, no gimmicks, no scams. This is not a sales presentation at all. All right, so this is information. I love being able to educate. I've been a university professor. I love teaching. So this is what we're going to be able to do here. So that's what we're doing. So that's all that we're doing here. I'm just providing you information so that you can be empowered for the rest of your life. Because I believe that Virgil was correct when he said that the greatest wealth that any of us can have is our health. Absolutely the case. So let me talk about the framework of what we're going to cover today. So several things that we're going to discuss. One, I want to share with you what I've discovered along the way is that what gets in the way of living a healthy life, what blocks us, what prevents us from living a healthy life. And this is very insightful. Then why choose a whole food plant-based diet? Why choose that? And if you're curious about it, and if you're not doing that, that's perfectly fine. I'm just going to share with you some information so that you can actually examine the data, examine the information and the reasons and see if it makes sense for you. That's all. There's no making wrong here whatsoever. Then I want to also share how lifestyle medicine works. And it's really an exciting field. It's the answer for chronic disease. And I want to share how this works. And it's so beautiful. And then we'll finish up by talking about how you can make the rest of your life the best of your life and have a successful lifestyle change. Because the information that I provide for you is simply information. It doesn't mean it's going to instantaneously, presto, change your life. All right, I'm not a magician. All right, so I can't do that. So we want to talk about how you can actually be able to make your life change for the better. So let's get started. Now, I want to let you know, I am not claiming in any way, shape, or form to be an all-knowing expert at all. I'm not. I'm a smart guy because I read a lot and I study a lot and I put it all to work. And what I've learned is that it's better to learn something, as Dr. Seuss said, it's better to know how to learn than to know, right? So you need to know how to learn and how to put it into practice. So you want to be able to do that. And that's what I've done. So I share information. I love being able to do that. I have many teachers. I'm a voracious reader. I love to read. I've gotten through so many books. I love learning. So I have many teachers. One of them has some words of wisdom to impart to you today. So I will invoke his spirit here right now. You must unlearn what you have learned. So I'm hoping you're willing to have an open mind, as Yoda suggests. Now, this is a very important part for today, because what we're going to examine is the process of unlearning. Unlearning. So in order for us to unlearn, we need to look at how we have learned what we have learned. How is it that we primarily learn about life, about health, and about nutrition? How is it that we learn that? Well, as my good friend Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about, is that 95% of our life is coming from the programs of how to live life that we download and get in the first 7 years of our lives. Now, most of us are adults, and most of us don't remember very much before the age of 7. We may remember a few things, but not much. What happens is that we download information primarily from our parents and the world in which we're living in the first 7 years of our life. And that predominantly shapes our mindset, our thinking, our attitude, our consciousness, our awareness, our beliefs. All of that is downloaded in the first 7 years of our lives. It's amazing. And we learn this about nutrition as well. I love what Dr. Bruce Lipton also says here, is that, are we running our lives with conscious mind? Or are we running our lives with the subconscious programs? Well, science has revealed that only 5% of the day we are operating our nervous system using the conscious mind's creative wishes and desires. Only 5%. 95% of the day, our life is coming straight out of the programs in our subconscious. And we're not even aware of it. We're not consciously aware of it, but that's what's happening. Our subconscious mind is so powerful. And you don't think about it today. You don't, as an adult. You learn how to drive your car a long time ago. And now you learn how to drive your car. You can do all kinds of things while you're driving. I've seen all kinds of people do some amazing things while they're driving, right? I've seen people, they're driving the car and they're putting on makeup, they're crimping their eyelashes, they're reading a newspaper, they're doing all kinds of crazy things. That's why is that possible? Is because driving a car has now been downloaded into a subconscious program. And that's how we approach our health as well. Our subconscious is so powerful. It records everything. It's always alert and awake, and it controls 95% of our lives. You're going to know that number, okay? It's built on habituation. So the thing about our subconscious mind, there are two ways in which we actually program it. In the first 7 years of our life, we just simply download. Our brain is operating on what we call theta wavelength. So we just download. But the other way that we can build the subconscious is by repetition or habituation. It speaks to you in dreams, and it has no verbal language. It takes everything literally, just like a small child does. And I call the subconscious oftentimes, it's sometimes referred to as your inner child or your monkey mind. So it takes everything literally. Now, it can do 1 trillion things at once. It can multitask. You cannot, but the subconscious mind can. It's not logical, it's emotionally driven and feeling. And it's 1 million times more powerful than the conscious mind as far as your life is concerned. It really is. So we need to be aware of this, because when it comes to our health, what most of us don't realize in our lives is that we're living like the automatons in the Matrix. If you've seen the movie The Matrix, then you understand what this concept means. You know, we're basically walking around based on these programs that have been downloaded in the first part of our lives and continually reinforced with additional programs for the rest of our lives. They're reinforced all the time. So we're walking around like zombies and robots and not thinking. We're not really thinking. We think we're thinking, but really we're not. We're just running on autopilot most of the time. So what are the results of this programming, especially in the United States? What's the results? Has our government really done a good job of programming us for better health, better vitality, better energy? Well, let's look at the results. And if we see the results, it's pretty plain to see. The United States spends more money on healthcare than any other country on the face of the planet by a huge margin. What's the return on our investment in these United States when it comes to life expectancy? Look at here on the red. We're not that good, folks. We're not. Okay, we do not have the best life expectancy on the face of the planet. We spend more money than anybody else does, but we do not have the best life expectancy. And if you look at the stats, when it comes to chronic disease, we're number one in the world. In the US, heart disease, cancer, and stroke account for more than half the deaths every single year. 86% of our nation's healthcare costs are spent treating people with chronic diseases. It's big business, my friends. 70% of all Americans are overweight and obese, which puts them at risk for chronic disease. 70 million Americans have hypertension with elevated risk of stroke and heart attack. 100 million are projected to be diabetic by 2050, and 130 million, that's 40% of the population, are affected by chronic disease. This is not a good scorecard. This is not. And if you look geographically, what we see, let's just look at a few. Heart disease, mortality, the greatest concentration in the southeast portion of the United States. Cancer, mortality, the greatest concentration in the southeast portion of the United States. All right, when we look at strokes, the greatest concentration of mortality, stroke mortality in the southeast portion of the United States. If we look at diabetes, the greatest concentration of diagnosis incidence rate is in the southeast portion of the United States. Life expectancy, the 10 states with the lowest life expectancy in the entire United States in red happen to be geographically next to each other. Next to each other. Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, and West Virginia. If you live there, I'm sorry. But I've been there. I know what it's like. And it's not healthy. It's just not healthy. My good friend, Dr. Stephen Loam, who's a cardiologist in Chicago, and he's board certified in lifestyle medicine as well. He says that there are 5 major factors that keep America sick, that keep us sick. Our family pattern of behavior. It's not our genetics. A lot of people mistakenly believe that genetics is the cause of heart disease and cancer and those chronic diseases. In fact, when I was in medical school, I was taught, oh, if somebody has a history of heart disease in their family, they are likely to have heart disease as well. Well, not necessarily so. It's the patterns of behavior that they learned while they were in their family for all those years, because they downloaded the same information about nutrition and health from their family in the first 7 years of their lives. Now, the food industry also is not interested in your health. We're going to talk more about this later, but they are clearly not interested in your health. They are interested in appealing to your subconscious mind and making sales and lots of your money. And then the government, our government is not interested in public health. No, the lobbyists. How many lobbyists are there for the Green Bean consortium? I don't think so. No. The thing is, you see the lobbyists that are in Washington or any other government office, all right, they're there to protect the interest of the people that are selling and making a lot of money, their industries, all right? And the food industry is huge, all right? So is the pharmaceutical industry. And that leads to another thing that keeps us sick, and that is the medical industry itself, because it's so connected with the pharmaceutical industry. Let me tell you, it is so connected. And in fact, when I was in medical school, the book on nutrition at UC Davis School of Medicine was actually provided for us free of charge by Upjohn Pharmaceuticals. Absolutely. Yeah. And then the final factor that keeps us sick is how our brain operates when we are in the state of survival, when we are stressed. When we are stressed, our brain is looking to do 3 things: seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy. That's what our brain is is absolutely wired to do. Now, do you think the food industry doesn't know this? Do you think the pharmaceutical industry doesn't know this? They know this, and they take advantage of it clearly. So what we've been doing is been operating like zombies, and we've been completely sick, and we've been operating the same things over and over again. And we're basically, if you look in the last, especially the last 50 years, we have been on this path of insanity. Absolutely. And we've been getting the same results over and over and over again. Chronic diseases hasn't gotten better. No, it's gotten worse. It's gotten worse. And so some people absolutely are now, they're so brainwashed by all the things that they've learned, all the ideas and the beliefs that they've learned, that they're actually so caught up in their insanity, quite frankly, they enjoy every moment of it. And you know who I'm talking about. These people are completely rigid in their insanity. They love suffering. They love to suffer because that's their life. Their life is all about suffering. So they don't suffer from insanity. No, they enjoy every moment of it. And it's rather shocking. So how do we break from this? How do we break from this? Einstein was very wise. He was a wise teacher for me. And he said this a long time ago, that the significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. So two things in this quote. Number one, we definitely have to shift our mindset, our thinking, our attitude, our consciousness, our awareness, and our beliefs. We have to shift in here. But the second thing to really get, and this is really humbling, is that we created our own problems, not consciously, but subconsciously. Subconsciously. So we have to understand this, and we have to really come to grips with it. We didn't intentionally create all this heart disease, cancer, diabetes in this country, but we subconsciously did. We bought into the programs. We bought into all the belief statements. When I taught psychology, I helped my students to understand something very, very important. That we as human beings, what we tend to do is we get very attached to our beliefs. We think that our beliefs are right, and that people who believe differently are wrong. In fact, if you look at the course of history, the Crusades were fought, the Christians versus the Muslims, because why? Because the Christians felt that their belief was right and felt that the Muslims were wrong. And the Muslims felt that the Christians were wrong and that they were right. People went to war and killed each other simply because of a difference of beliefs? That's insane. That's totally insane. It is. All of us have different beliefs. The beliefs are not right or wrong. In psychology, we define beliefs very clearly as a strongly held opinion. Now, some people hold on to their beliefs a little stronger than others. Some people just have a mild preference, but others have a little bit stronger belief, and they start attaching the word should. You should do this, you should do that, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, I should do this, I should do that, you should do that, they should do this, they shouldn't do that. We should all over the place. But then there are some who have an even stronger level of belief, and this is referred to in psychology as fanaticism. So fanaticism is where beliefs are so rigidly, strongly held, like it goes from should to must. You must do this, you must do that. If you don't do this, then off with your head. That's rigid beliefs. Believe it or not, there are still people who believe that the earth is flat. There are. I have come across them. Yes. Fascinating, isn't it? There are people who have amazing beliefs. In fact, there was a time in history where if you didn't believe that the earth was flat, you would be persecuted, as it happened to Galileo and many others. Beliefs are not the truth. They are simply strongly held opinions. That is all. So what if we can come to grips with the fact that beliefs are simply strongly held opinions, but beliefs actually influence our DNA? They do. They influence our health. They influence our body. They influence how our DNA is actually expressed. There is this fabulous book by Dr. Bruce Lipton, The Biology of Belief. And it's amazing how we can actually shift our beliefs and shift the expression of our body, shift our health. Another friend of mine, Dr. Joe Dispenza, is powerful in understanding how powerful our thoughts and our beliefs are in being able to shape our lives. What if we come to this awareness that if we shift our beliefs, we can actually shift our health, our nutrition, our energy, everything, simply by changing our beliefs? So first, to be able to do this, we have to get that we've been programmed. We have to get this. We have to understand. I'm going to give you an example. So if you're over the age of 40, this is going to probably work for you, okay? So let me know, see if you have a reaction in your brain from these words. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. You know the rest. You know the rest. Oh, what a relief it is. All right, that ad has not played on TV for 40 years, over 40 years, but you got programmed because industry since the 1930s has been using the psychology of manipulation to be able to program your subconscious mind. Because remember, you can program your subconscious mind by either downloading information when you're a child before the age of 7, but after that, by repetition. So what has marketing and advertising been doing since the 1930s? Bombardment of repetition. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Oh, you remember the jingle. Yeah, you remember that. Why? Because you got programmed. That's an example of programming. You got programmed. The food industry has used this as well. They've used this. Beef, it's what's, you know the rest. It's what's for dinner, okay? Funded by the beef farmers and ranchers. They even say it right there. All right, and then you see ads like this. Oh, this is Arby's. All right, meal deal. We've got the meats. All right, they say it over and over and over again. You know the voice, you know the tone, you know the rhythm. Oh yeah, it's Arby's. It's meat season. Let the game begin. This is a new venison sandwich. I mean, they market anything. It's repetition, repetition, repetition. And they go after your feelings. They go after that. They really go after your emotions. They know what they're doing. And now Carl's Jr., oh, they make their burgers sexy. All right, she'll tell you that size doesn't matter. She's lying. Well, who's that for? That's for the guys, all right? Okay, so and then they go like this. There's another Carl's Jr. ad, man up and cut the Carls, all right? Because women are more than meat. Come on, are you kidding me? This is programming at its best. This is what they do. And now the new KFC Chicken Sandwich, and they get all the ads, all the features of it. Oh my goodness. I mean, they are just bombarding us with all of these ads. Here's Popeye's Chicken Sandwich. All right, they're in competition with KFC. All right, so they got to do that. So they're doing all this for all the different kinds of meat. Oh, and then let's not leave out eggs. All right, so happy hens lay tasty eggs, like happy cows and give happy milk. So the Happy Egg Company. Have you ever seen a happy egg? Come on now. All right, like this is ridiculous stuff. And now you probably know what goes on the rest of this ad. All right, it's muffin, egg, sausage, cheese, muffin. You know what it is. You know the company. You know, you have seen these words. You know exactly what the logo is to go along with it. And then this is another ad from Canada. So eggs for dinner isn't weird. Get cracking. All right. And then you got the dairy industry. Oh, no, wait a minute. You got one more egg ad. Now, sometimes you want to get to the kids. All right, it's good, natured, all-American eggs. All right, Andrew Good delivers newspapers, rides a bike to school, aces his math test, plays football, takes piano lessons, reads comic books, and loves an egg a day. He's the all-American child. Oh my God, I mean, talk about manipulation. They are brilliant at being able to program people to be zombies. And then, then there's the dairy industry. Oh, they are amazingly clever. Milk, it does a body good. And this young boy drinks this glass of milk and instantly becomes an all-American professional athlete. Yes, absolutely. And then talking about professional athletes and superstars, well, the milk industry has no qualm about going after the superstars, all right? And by the way, I found this and I had to include it because Venus and Serena Williams are now vegan. They don't drink milk at all, but they cornered them for their advertising years ago. And then you got Superman as well with the milk mustache. And then Angelina Jolie, 9 essential nutrients for 1 essential body. All right, so they're using the superstars. And then, of course, they've got to get to the kids. They've got to get to the kids, especially the young ones. Got milk? So they're trying to program them early. And then, of course, the dairy industry is really trying to sell as much cheese as possible. The highest concentrated form of saturated fat that we have, highest selling form of saturated fat that we sell in the United States. And so we got ads like DiGiorno pizza. It's stuffed crust. Oh, and then if that's not good enough, we're going to get you the bacon and cheese stuffed crust. And if that doesn't do it for you, then we're going to get you the epic stuffed crust. Oh, it's amazing. When you start to look at all this advertising, what they're doing is simply programming your subconscious mind. You watch it enough, it's going to plant the seeds. You're going to be familiar with all of the sounds, all of the jingles, all the pictures, everything about it. In order to break free of this vice, all right, this vice, we have to be able to question your beliefs. We have to question our beliefs. Question them. Is what I believe about nutrition, is it really the truth? Do I really need to have protein? Do I really need to have these certain multivitamins and these multi-minerals from certain sources? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? You need to question your beliefs. Consider, my friends, that we have patterns. We have patterns. We do. We're programmed just as much as any Pavlovian dog. So pay attention to your patterns. The ways you learn to survive, especially in the first 7 years of your life, may not be the ways you want to continue to live. So this is an opportunity for us to be adults and actually consciously choose to heal and to shift. So now, just like the movie The Matrix, I'm going to give you an opportunity to choose to heal and to shift. So if you're new and you've never been plant-based before, that's great. This is an opportunity for you to look at the fact that, yeah, we've all been programmed. All of us, myself included, every one of us has been programmed. I saw all of these ads growing up. I learned all of these jingles growing up, just like you did. We all have. So in The Matrix, there's this moment where Mr. Anderson, otherwise known as Neo, had a conversation with Morpheus, this very powerful conversation. And Morpheus said, you take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in wonderland and being curious, and I'll show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. So if you don't want to know how deep the rabbit hole goes, you should stop now and just continue to live being in the matrix. But if you're ready to take a look at how deep the rabbit hole goes, then keep your mind open, because now I'm going to go into the rabbit hole and show you how deep it goes. So when it comes to all the advertising, we have to really take a very serious look. And what we notice is this: the meat and food industry, they use research. 70% of the research that's done today is done for one major reason, and it's to manipulate the mindset of the consumers. It's to manipulate the mindset of the consumer. So scientists behind a particular red meat study previously tied to the food industry. Yeah, the study's lead researcher has been accused of making a career, and literally a career, of tearing down conventional nutrition wisdom. This happens all the time. This happens all the time. So it absolutely is the case. So my father taught me something very, very important when I was little. Don't believe everything you hear or you see or you read. If you do, sooner or later, they're going to call you sucker. That's what he taught me. Words of wisdom. Now, when it comes to eating and nutrition, we think we need all this meat, dairy, and eggs, but if you really look at comparative anatomy and physiology, that's not true. It's not true at all. Now you're going to get, this is very, very detailed. It's too hard to go through. But here's the deal. Humans, if you can see very, very quickly, we do not have teeth like a carnivore at all. Not even an omnivore. All right. We're much closer to what's called a frugivore. All right. So that's how humans' teeth are in our intestinal tract and everything else about us. That's how we operate. So you have to look at the science. You have to look at the data and realize how that works. Now, when I first studied comparative anatomy and physiology at Cal Lutheran University, Dr. Kalitsky said that the only animals designed to consume the flesh of other animals are predators and scavengers. Predators and scavengers. By the way, they have fangs, very sharp teeth, they have claws, they have talons or beaks, and they have absolutely zero flat molars. None. They can't crush and grind. Can't do it. They don't eat that way. They have very short intestinal tracts. They're meant to be able to take food in that way. That's what they do. Now, a lot of people say, well, I've got these canines here. These qualified me as an omnivore. I said, really? Really? Are you kidding me? Like, no, these are canines, okay, on a cat. All right. What we have in our mouth? No. Those do not qualify as canines. In fact, if you look at the x-rays, you can see it clearly. It's very, very plain to see. All right. Here's human on the right. So if we look, all the teeth here, including the canines, so we have the 4 incisors and then we have the 2 canines on either side. Okay. So the thing is, those are the canines. All these teeth have roots that go about the same depth in the bone, in our bone, in the jaw. So that's what's there. So they only have so much bone holding them. And this is true on the side view. You can see it there. This is a cat. All right. So a cat from the side view over here. All right. There's the lower canine. There's the upper canine. The upper canine goes way in. Lower canine, we can look at it from this side. Here are the incisors. This part, this is the gum line right there. And then all of this is the part of the tooth that's in the bone. This is the part that's above. Now, here's a canine. All right, from here, it's hard to see, but I read so many x-rays. This part from here to there is above the bone, above the gum line. All of this from here all the way down to there is inside the bone. So there's a different engineering. Okay, there's a different structure when it comes to the canines in a carnivore or an omnivore. Completely different, completely different. Dr. Kalitsky also said that humans, compared to other animals, were in the group of animals called primates. So gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, monkeys, apes. Okay, no other primates have barbecues, in case you haven't noticed yet. Okay, they're not doing that. And the strongest is not us. It's not us, all right? Gorillas are the strongest. They can lift up to 10 times their body weight. And what do they eat? 60 pounds of plant material a day. They're not suffering from protein deficiency at all, at all. And a lot of people say, well, gorillas have canines. Yeah, they do, but they don't eat meat. Okay, those are just for protection. So that's how they work. That's it. Now, when we look at the data and the research on what does eating meat as a human being, what does eating meat cause us? Well, there's a list. There's so many meat-specific toxins. There's a complete list. Oxidized cholesterol, reactive aldehydes, new 5-GC, endotoxins, TMAO. I'm going to talk about more about this in a second. Carcinogenic heterocyclic amines, heme iron, bioconcentrated pesticides, herbicides, heavy metals, hormones, and antibiotics. Is any of this good? I don't think so. And eating meat harms us in so many different ways. Excess fat that we don't need, no fiber, zero fiber whatsoever. And that's the most important thing that we need. We have a 97% of the American population is deficient in fiber. And when you eat meat, dairy, and eggs, there's no fiber. It causes a sympathetic response, putting us into stress and survival, acidification, inflammation, shorter telomeres. So we end up shortening our lives. Every piece of meat that we eat shortens our lives. IGF-1 and increased risk of cancer, and then carnitine and many others molecules that help feed the harmful bacteria in the body, causing the production of trimethylamine oxide. So trimethylamine oxide, you may not have heard about it, but let's talk about that for a second. So when you eat red meat, poultry, liver, fish, milk, cheese, and eggs, you have these compounds. These are nitrosamines, carnitine, phenylcarnitine, choline, and betaine. Now, we can't break them down. They're foreign. We have to have a specific group of bacteria in our intestinal tract that then has to process these particular compounds when they're introduced into our gut. So these bacteria are then going to convert these compounds into this compound here, trimethylamine. Trimethylamine is very toxic, very toxic. And so this molecule is going to travel in our blood over to the liver, and it's going to get oxidized. So our liver, one of the things that it will do to try to detox some of the compounds that are introduced into our body is that we're going to oxidize it to help denature the nature of that molecule. Just like if you put water on top of iron, it's going to develop rust. It's going to denature the iron. So that's what we do. We oxidize that and form trimethylamine oxide. But it's still toxic, and it causes inflammation and is the leading factor that we've shown in the research leading to heart attack, stroke, death, and revascularization. Not good. Not good. In addition, you need to know the data. The leading scientists of the World Health Organization were set on a mission to actually evaluate red and processed meats. So they evaluated over 800 research studies. And so it was just extraordinary. So they looked at all these research studies, and what they were able to determine clearly by the research, this is called a meta-analysis, which is the highest level of scientific evaluation. They concluded that all processed meats, so this is sausages, hot dogs, bacon, salami, pepperoni, ham, all of those are class 1 carcinogens, class 1 carcinogen. Now, I want to let you know, class 1 carcinogen, the other things that are in class 1, nicotine, plutonium, asbestos, many other things, okay? Really toxic things that cause cancer. Now, do we have food labels on these products? We should, but they're not there. In addition, they concluded that all the other red meats probably cause cancer, class 2A. Probably. That's not a good proposition. The food industry, what's their response? And the pun is intended here. They say bologna, which happens to be another processed meat. Yeah, that's their response. Because why? They only care about one thing, making money. Do you think they say, whoa, the World Health Organization says this is dangerous, we're going to stop selling it? Don't think they're going to stop selling it for a minute. Just like the cigarette industry, they're not going to stop selling cigarettes. So there's no amount of these processed meats that is safe at all. And the risk is very, very real. And the same is true for eggs. A lot of people think eggs is healthy for you. Well, one egg has the same amount of cholesterol as a Big Mac and a lot more fat too. And consuming eggs increases the risk of cardiovascular disease, colon cancer, diabetes, prostate cancer significantly. I mean, not a small amount. We're talking about significant. It's huge. Now let's talk about dairy. Let's go down the rabbit hole with dairy. So you have to really think here logically. Is this a normal occurrence in nature? Okay, you have a female tiger nursing 5 piglets in tiger's clothing. Now, this is a rare exception. It does happen. It does happen, but it's not the usual. It's not the routine. It's not what we would normally see. This is special. This is a special exception. Most of the time, she'd be eating the piglets, not nursing them. So the thing is, it's a very rare example. Now, we have to think, how many species of mammals are there on the face of the planet? Well, I did my research and I discovered that there are over 5,000 species of mammals on the face of the planet. I had no idea there were so many different species of bats. Okay, so there's lots of mammals, lots of different mammals. So now a couple of questions. We have to think logically here. Think logically. Shift your belief statements. Think logically. Be open. So out of all 5,000 plus species of mammals on the face of the planet, how many species of mammal do you think routinely nurse a different species of mammal by choice? Now, I asked this question at UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine. I asked the professors because I felt that they knew more about animals than anybody I could think of. And you want to know what their response was? They said, "Are you crazy? It doesn't happen." It doesn't happen. Oh, zero. Okay, then. Second question. Of all the 5,000 plus species of mammals on the face of the planet, how many species routinely nurse past infancy by choice? Their answer again, "Are you crazy? It doesn't happen." Interesting. Logically, my friends, logically, if all the species of mammals, of all the species, none of them routinely nurse a different species by choice, and none of them routinely nurse past infancy by choice on a routine basis. Therefore, logically, each species should only nurse their own and only during infancy. I have yet to find anyone who could refute this logical argument. No one has been able to refute it. So this is logical. Dairy harms us in so many ways because it's not meant for human beings. Cow's milk, goat's milk, it doesn't matter. All right, it's not meant for human beings. There's no fiber, it's excess fat, causes a sympathetic reaction, causes our blood to turn acid, causes inflammation, colic in babies. All right, and one of the reasons why babies have colic is because of dairy. Type 1 diabetes, we've shown in the research out of Scandinavia that babies who are introduced to cow's milk early on in their age, in their infancy, have a higher likelihood of developing type 1 diabetes. And then heart disease, oh my gosh, I mean, this isn't good. Decalcification of our bones. We were taught a long time ago, milk for strong bones. Well, you know what? They got sued. The dairy industry got sued because that's false advertising. Because the research clearly shows that the countries that have the highest amount of dairy consumption have the highest rates of osteoporosis, not the least Casein, which is a major protein in dairy, we have discovered in the research, it is a potent promoter of cancer. It promotes cancer. That's not good either. None of it is good. None of it is good. And as my good friend, Dr. Milton Mills talks about, he says this: you shouldn't be drinking cow's milk for the same reason that if you needed a blood transfusion, I wouldn't give you cow's blood. It's not meant for a human. It's not. Okay. Would anybody here want to have a cow's blood if you needed a transfusion? Not a good idea. Okay. Really. So consider this, my friends. Consider that we have all, myself included, okay? We have all been duped, hoodwinked, bamboozled, and deceived. Not intentionally, but we have been. And our subconscious mind has been programmed by all the programming, not only in the first 7 years of our life, but all the repetition, all the advertising, all the information from our family members and everybody else, because we believed everything that we've heard, we've seen, and we've experienced. Hook, line, and sinker. And that's what we've done. And it's not that we're stupid. It's not that there's something wrong with us. No, it's none of that. It's just programming. It's just programming. Every dog can be programmed. Cats, not so easy. Okay, so the thing is, dogs can be programmed, believe me. So based on my realization of this, and when I came to understanding this whole system, and I started to realize, oh my God, I have been duped, hoodwinked, bamboozled, and deceived. All right, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you know it, you cannot unknow it. And you start to see how you've been programmed, then you can make a choice. So what I have chosen to do since I started my journey early 1995, so that was 26 years ago, I have chosen to consume a whole food, not processed food, whole foods. Okay, whole foods, not processed foods, because there's a lot of processed foods out there, and the processed foods are not necessarily healthy for you. And they can be vegan, but not necessarily healthy. Okay, so I choose to eat whole foods because that's what works for the body. And that's what that woman that I did the autopsy on, I went back to realizing what I had learned from that woman. That was an incredible gift, that autopsy that I did back in 1981. And I started to realize, okay, that was a gift. She told me an incredible amount of information, but I had to learn how to use it. So whole food, not processed foods, and plant foods as opposed to animal foods. Plant foods, because that's what our human body really runs well on. It works. And I've been paying attention to what many brilliant teachers have been teaching about this. Here are just some of the teachers that I've been learning from. Okay, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, brilliant in terms of cardiac research. I'll share some of his work in a little while. Dr. T. Colin Campbell, Professor Emeritus at Cornell University in Nutritional Biochemistry, author of the China Study. And then Dr. Michael Greger, one of the co-founders of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And he has an incredible website, a tremendous amount of research. It's called nutritionfacts.org. Dr. John McDougall, amazing. One of my first teachers. I've just loved all of his many books. He's got some great books that are just fantastic. And Dr. Pam Popper, she is absolutely brilliant at being able to look at the data and making conscientious choices. Dr. Neil Barnard, who's the president of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, professor of medicine at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., absolutely brilliant, author of many books. And Dr. Dean Ornish, who's also one of the many trailblazers in looking at cardiac research and also cancer research at the University of San Francisco. These are phenomenal teachers. And their books, I've read all their material. I mean, just a ton of great material. They all support a whole food plant-based diet, but they're not the only ones. Okay, not anymore. So these days, not only do we have the American College of Lifestyle Medicine saying to eat more plants, but we also have the American Cancer Society, the American Medical Association, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, Diabetes Canada, the World Cancer Research Fund, American Diabetes Association, the Endocrine Society, the American Heart Association, American Association of Clinical Endocrinology, all join with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine in advocating for us for optimal health. Major scientific and medical organizations all agree: eat more unrefined plant foods. So I'm not the only voice anymore. It feels so amazing. This is like an incredible time in history to see all of these medical organizations and scientific organizations all on board with being able to promote a whole food plant-based diet as optimal. Now, there are many other reasons that people choose to be whole food plant-based or to be vegan. And I'm not gonna make either of those wrong right now. So there's many reasons. Some people choose to be vegan and whole food plant-based for their health. Perfectly fine. It's a very legitimate reason, nothing wrong with that. Some people choose to be vegan for the sake of the animals. They are opposed to animal cruelty. And that's a perfectly legitimate reason. Nothing wrong with that at all. It's a great reason. Other people choose to be vegan for the environment because they realize that that's what we have to be able to do in order to actually save our environment, is to stop eating animals so we can actually start saving the earth. Perfectly legitimate reason. What I want to share with you today are my 3 reasons. My 3 reasons why I have chosen to be whole food plant-based in my life. And so these are my particular reasons. All those reasons are perfectly valid, but I want to share with you mine. So the first reason why I choose to be whole food plant-based is because I learned a long time ago that all there is fear or love. That's all there is. Don Miguel Ruiz is one of my teachers. He wrote The 4 Agreements, The Mastery of Love, and many other wonderful, beautiful books. And I realized something very powerful, that when it comes to living a thriving, healthy, happy life, all there is fear or love. So if not for love, then why? You're choosing fear. Is that really a great way to live your life? I don't think so. So the most important reason that I choose to be whole food plant-based is because of love. I choose love. I choose to live a life of love, to really live a life of love. I don't want to live a life of fear, because all there is fear or love. So I'm choosing love, not fear. I choose that. So to live a life of love, I have to begin by learning how to love myself even more. And this has been a powerful journey in my life, to really learn how to love myself. You see, I started off with not loving myself very much at all. I grew up in a family where my parents were very critical, not affectionate, and not very supportive. So I learned to be very self-critical as a result. Like many people, I was very hard on myself. I was always having to strive to be perfect in order to satisfy my parents. And I was never, ever good enough. A lot of us have this conversation, this belief in our minds that we got programmed into our heads that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy enough, we don't deserve it. All of these erroneous beliefs that cripple us and hold us back. And one of the most important reasons, the most important things that we can do in our lives, I feel, is to really learn how to love ourselves. And this has been a powerful, powerful journey in my life, to really get that I'm a divine creation. I am. God didn't make any junk. All right. I am a divine creation. And every single one of us is an amazing creation. I mean, if you study embryology, you come to realize that it's amazing that we turn out the way that we do. It really is. So it's been powerful for me to really be able to begin to look at myself in a whole different way, where I really love, accept, and nurture myself. Because if I want to live a thriving, healthy, happy life, I need to love myself and feed myself healthy food that really allows me to love myself. That's really powerful to get. And when we start by loving ourselves, then we can authentically love others. Authentically, not in order to get something from them or to please them. No, but to really love others. When we genuinely love ourselves and we are completely accepting of ourselves, then we can step into a space of being able to accept others just the way that they are. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to accept people with no judgment, no attachments, no obligations, no expectations. Wow. I mean, if we could all accept each other just the way that we are, regardless of our differences and beliefs, there would never be any wars. There would never be any shootings. There would never be any of that fear running around. And this is what we need to teach our children, to love ourselves so that we can love others and accept each other just the way that we are. And if we learn to love each other, as many, many beautiful spiritual and religious traditions have taught, I mean, to love your neighbor as yourself, powerful words, right? So we need to learn how to do that. And if we do that powerfully, then we can learn to love all of life. All of life. All of the animals that walk on the face of the earth, and realize none of them are meant for food. They're not meant to be our food. They are sentient beings. They have intelligence. They have emotions. They have feelings. They have lives. They have desires just like we do. And if we really love ourselves and love others, then we can love all others, and we can love all the animals on the face of the planet. And we can really operate from a place of love. It's interesting to me that some people tell me that they love animals and yet they're eating a steak. And I think to myself, that's not an integrity. That's a contradiction in your integrity. You're not getting it. I promise you, if you ever have an experience like this with animals, you could never eat them. It would be a complete cognitive dissonance experience for you. It really would. We're not meant to eat animals. None of us have claws, talons, fangs. We can't rip into a cow's flesh and tear it open and eat it raw. You would be sick. You would probably even die. A cow is meant to have a relationship with. They're beautiful beings. They really are. And please do not sneak up on them from behind, because you get kicked by a cow, it's going to hurt. I ought to know. And if we learn to love all animals, what we can start to do is really have love emanate to everything around us, to the entire world in which we live. And when we do that, we can learn to love. We certainly love the beach, right? We love the mountains. We love beautiful places like this, but we don't think about everything that we do has an impact on this world in which we live. So everything that we choose has an impact. For every effect, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So there's an effect of everything that we do. All of our choices impact the environment. All the choices affect us. I love being out in nature. This is me just the other day. I love being able to ski up in the mountains. This is up at Donner. Beautiful, beautiful day. It was just a beautiful day of skiing. I love being out in nature. You know what? Every choice that we make makes a difference on the environment. Every single choice. The second reason why I choose a whole food plant-based diet is because of leadership. Now, I'm passionate about leadership. I actually train CEOs and executives in leadership. That is one of the other hats that I wear because of my experience in healthcare administration. And I've taught leadership for well over 25 years. We all have a responsibility as leaders, as adults, to leave a legacy for our planet. We do. We absolutely do. None of us lives forever. So we have a responsibility. Leaders have a responsibility to leave the place in a better state than how you found it. I love this picture because for me, leadership is no different than being a parent. Being able to empower a young person to actually grow up to be responsible, self-sufficient, be happy, be wealthy, be active, be responsible for their lives. And being able to be socially responsible for everybody else's lives as well, because we're all in this together. I have a legacy that I'm leaving behind. Here they are, my 4 boys. On the far left is my youngest son, Joseph. He is 6'5". He is a sophomore at UC Santa Cruz, 20 years old. He is an economics major, doing extremely well. The last 3 quarters, he's been a perfect 4.0. He solves a Rubik's Cube in under 30 seconds. And he was a conference finalist in all 5 of his events in swimming last year. 200 IM, 200 breaststroke, 100 breaststroke, and both relays. And he's just an amazing young man. I had the privilege and honor of working with him over spring break, and he's just an incredible human being, as they all are. Here's my eldest. This is Aaron. He is my creative genius. He's 34 years old. He plays 5 musical instruments. He became a professional photographer. He learns about anything he wants to learn. He is just this voracious student. And today he's an internet marketing specialist for a company, and he's planning on learning and growing and expanding so that he can be Google certified as an internet marketing specialist. This is son number 3, Gabriel, and he is a student at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, 22 years old. And he's got a double AA in fire science and in business. And his intention is to become a leader in the firefighting community. And he's already been accepted to the firefighting academy. And then this is my son number 2. This is Matthew, and he is 29 years old, a graduate of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, civil engineer, works for a wonderful boutique engineering firm down in Southern California. And he is FAA certified to fly unmanned drones and doing high-tech land surveying. And his major project right now is the upgrade of the Los Angeles County light rail system in preparation of the 2028 Olympics. That's his baby. That's my legacy. And as an adult, it is my responsibility to lead my children into creating a better world. Not to abuse this world, to make this world better. And so I've led them by being able to share with them my choices. And as a result, they've all chosen to be plant-based as well. They all have. Aaron said it so well. He said, there is no way I'm going to have any children that are going to grow up without being plant-based. That's powerful. That's powerful. That's the next generation after them. That's what we have to do. Why? Because there's no planet B. There is no other planet, my friends. That's it. This is our home for all of us. And we have a responsibility as adults to leave a legacy that's better. Let's make this planet better. All of this meat, dairy, and eggs and animal agriculture is destroying our planet. And we have to come to grips with it. We can't do it anymore. It's not sustainable at all. We have to stop the abuse of the planet, and we got to do it now. The third reason I choose to be whole food plant-based in my dietary approach is because of vitality. Vitality, energy. I want to live fully and have incredible energy all the way till the end of my life. I want to go out like my godfather. He went out dancing the very night that he died. None of us lives forever. The question is, how will you go out? Will you go out dancing, or were you going to go out in a hospital bed suffering for a couple of years with tubes in and out of you and doctors poking at you with those sharp needles and drawing your blood and intubating you and all those other things? I don't want that. I've seen that, my friends. I've done the autopsy and it's not pretty. I want vitality in my life. That's what I'm committed to. And there's a reason for this. There's a reason for why more professional athletes are going whole food plant-based. More professional athletes who have got multi-million-dollar contracts on their bodies, they're choosing to be able to have this because guess what? It allows them to perform at a higher level. I just did a seminar on optimal athletic performance at any age, but there are three major reasons for athletes: increased energy. Yeah, it's really whole food plant-based, absolutely the best way to optimize energy. Decreases inflammation. Well, all those chronic diseases, guess what comes with it? Inflammation. And improved recovery, because you know what? It's much more fun to be able to be active and be able to get back out there and do it again. All right, so that's what we want to be able to do. I want to have a life filled with health, energy, vitality, and fun to the very end. That's what I'm committed to. So those are my three reasons. Those are my three reasons why I choose a whole food plant-based diet. And it's consistent with what lifestyle medicine talks about. Dr. Wayne Dysinger, who's one of the co-founders of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, says this, that lifestyle medicine is the foundation of healthcare because 80% of healthcare is chronic disease. 80% of chronic disease is lifestyle. So if the disease is caused by lifestyle, the foundation ought to be a lifestyle treatment, not a bottle of pills. No, not a bottle of pills, not a surgical procedure for a chronic condition. This makes sense. In lifestyle medicine, what we're committed to is empowering you to live life in a box, a different kind of box, okay? So what we want is for your quality of life to be absolutely at the optimal best. And that's what we want to be able to do. In 1920, the life expectancy was only 45 years. Currently, it's about 78 years. But we see all this deterioration of the quality of life, especially in the last 12 to 15 years. In lifestyle medicine, what we want to be able to do is give you optimal energy, vitality, and life and quality of life all the way to the very end, and then you die short. All right, much better option, much better option. So that's what we're committed to being able to empower you to do. And to do that, we have to be aware that we as human beings have four energies that really drive who we are. Physical energy is the food, exercise, sleep, and resting. That's physical energy. Mental energy is being able to think, concentrate, focus, and solve problems. But emotional energy is a very important part of our health. And that's how we feel and our emotion, our engagement levels, feeling valued. But then our spiritual energy, not religion here, what I'm talking about is our sense of purpose, our values, and needing to matter. So all of these are important when it comes to our health. What we need to do, therefore, in order to optimize our health is to build resilience. Build resilience. This is my friend Nimai Delgado, who has not had a speck of meat in his entire life. Okay, not one bit. Does he suffer from protein deficiency? Yeah, he's definitely suffering from protein deficiency. Yeah, so build resilience, the capacity to prepare for disruptions, recover from shocks and stresses, and adapt and grow from a disruptive experience. That's the definition of resilience. So we're going to look very briefly at the 7 lifestyle medicine areas that I want to share with you today. So hydration, nutrition, physical activity, harmful substance reduction, sleep, emotional well-being and stress management, healthy relationships. Now I have webinars on nearly all of these. So this is just going to be a brief brush over and an overview, but I just want those of you who are new just to give you a sense of how comprehensive this is. And we think of these as spokes in a wheel. So we want to make sure all the spokes are in good alignment. That's really important. So let's start with the first one, and that is, for me, is hydration. And what we show in the research is this. At the Adventist Health Study, we show that 5 glasses of water per day decrease the risk of stroke or heart attack by 50% or more. This should be on CNN every single night. This should be an advertisement that we should have on TV, don't you think? We need a water commercial. We really do. And then we also show that for losing weight, we have a clinical study who actually showed this, a randomized 12-week clinical trial, that 2 cups of water before meals showed a 44% greater rate of weight loss. Amazing. Now, this would put Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem, Weight Watchers all out of business, okay? Because this is much more effective. Yes, just drink your water, folks. All right, so my tip for all of you is simple, all right? Drink 2 8-ounce glasses first thing in the morning. That's 16 ounces. Get that in right off the bat. That's going to hydrate your brain. Your brain does not need the coffee, does not need the caffeine. No, it needs the water. Your brain is 80% water. So drink a glass of water before and after each meal. 2, if you're trying to lose weight, drink a glass before workout, and 2 glasses after workout. Drink your water. Really important. Now let's talk about nutrition. So what we show clinically in the research is that there's only one dietary approach that we have ever seen in the research that reverses atherosclerosis and heart disease, the #1 killer, that causes positive genetic expression in our DNA, increases the telomere length of our chromosomes, and demonstrates the best long-term weight loss. Only one dietary approach. Yeah, you're probably right. You know what it is. It's the whole food, plant-based diet. That's it. That's what it is. So let's talk about each of these briefly. So when it comes to atherosclerosis and heart disease, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who wrote this book, Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, absolutely groundbreaking research. Now, back in 1988, he took about 24 patients, I think it was, and he was able to show that if they went to what he called the Norwegian dietary plan, which was based on potatoes and vegetables during World War II, when they completely eradicated their heart disease, that these patients were absolutely able to have a 20-year increase in life expectancy. And these people were sick. They were sick. They were told, get your affairs in order, prepared to die. All right. They were diagnosed with severe coronary artery disease. So this book was written. It was fabulous. People loved it, but there's always critics, right? There's always critics. Some people criticized this work and said, oh, it's too small of a sample size. So Dr. Esselstyn said, fine, I'll do another study. So he did. So he started the second study in 2010. So we took 198 patients with cardiovascular disease. They were told, get your affairs in order, prepared to die. There's nothing more that we can do medically for you. Now, they came into the study, 21 or 11% did not follow Dr. Esselstyn's plan. 177, 89% did follow the plant-based diet. This was published 4 years later in the follow-up in the Journal of Family Practice. I'll send this to you in the email. So here are the results. The people who did not follow the plan, the 21 who did not, All right. Blue means they stayed free of cardiovascular disease. And as expected, people who have a previous history of cardiovascular disease, in the next 4 years, we would expect that 2 out of 3 would have another repeat event. And that's exactly what happened. About 62% had a repeat cardiovascular event in the next 4 years. Now, the people who did follow Dr. Esselstyn's plan, here are the results. Blue is good, red is bad. All right, here's what happens. 99.4%, 176 out of the 177 free of cardiovascular disease events in the next 4 years. One person went on a business trip, had a greasy cheeseburger, and had angina the next day. Okay, that was the one. Now, this is extraordinary. We have never seen any drug do this. We've never seen any other research do this. In fact, when we compared this to other research, this was extraordinary. We've never seen any research. This is the treating the cause, Dr. Esselstyn study, 0.6% recurrence of cardiovascular events compared to all these other studies. Wow, wow, remarkable. In addition, we even have the absolute complete verification of clinical improvement with an repeat angiography. So this was a physician colleague of Dr. Esselstyn in 1996, had such extensive coronary artery disease in his left anterior descending artery that they said, we can't even do a bypass. It's so bad. So this doctor was depressed. Dr. Esselstyn said, come into my program. You've got nothing to lose. So the doctor willingly did, and he completely followed the whole food plant-based diet. 32 months later, because he's a physician, he was able to get a repeat angiography. And lo and behold, not only was that left anterior descending artery completely wide open and reversal of the atherosclerosis, but you see extensive improvement in what we call coronary blood perfusion in the rest of the heart. Absolutely remarkable. Absolutely. And definitive. So as my colleague, Dr. Michael Greger says, if that's all a plant-based diet can do, reverse the #1 killer of men and women, shouldn't that be the default diet until proven otherwise? I think so. Makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to you. In addition, what we show clinically is that a whole food plant-based diet, the work of Elizabeth Blackburn, a Nobel Prize winning scientist out of the University of San Francisco, she found that a vegan diet, a plant-based diet, caused more than 500 genes to change in just a period of 3 months, turning on the genes that prevent disease and turning off the genes that cause cancer, heart disease, and other illnesses. A genetic shift by just changing what we eat. This is remarkable. It's remarkable. We've never seen any other dietary approach do this. In addition, what she also showed in her groundbreaking research is that the chromosomes in our DNA, in our cells, and the chromosomes, the tips of the chromosomes are referred to as telomeres. Now, what we show is this. Every cell in our body has to replicate and get replaced over time. So we are going to do that repeatedly over the course of our lifetime. The telomeres, when we replace our cells, the telomeres tend to shorten. But what's extraordinary, and this is so exciting, is that when we're on a whole food plant-based diet, our telomeres can actually lengthen. How many of you would like to get younger as you continue to live? Oh, yeah, I'm actually 107 years old. This has been amazing. So the thing about it is that when you're on a whole food plant-based diet, you are no longer a number of years. No, you become your energy, your vitality. You become your cellular regeneration occurs. It's extraordinary. It really is. This, my friends, truly is the fountain of youth. It really is. It's extraordinary. And you have to get this, how valuable this is. Now, in addition, what we show in the research is this, that the International Journal of Disease Reversal and Prevention, what they did is they took all the major diets, the paleo diet, the Atkins diet, the ketogenic diet, the whole food plant-based diet, the lacto-ovo vegetarian diet. They put all these diets head to head. And they tested it with thousands of people. And what they showed is that plant-based diet, when compared to other dietary approaches, scored best in long-term, sustainable weight loss. Long-term, who wants to lose weight, lose it quickly, and then have to regain it again? That's not a good proposition. Now, I was 55 pounds heavier 26 years ago. I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar, and I had all this weight. And so choosing to be on a whole food plant-based diet really worked, because the thing is, I've lost the weight. I have kept it off for a well over 25 years. People don't do that usually. But if you're eating the right way, it makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference. And the benefits of a whole food plant-based diet compared to other diets, incredible. Incredible. There's research studies on every single one of these points. I'm not going to go through it all. And in fact, there's so many benefits, I had to list another page. So the thing is, there's so many benefits. So many benefits. Okay, I love this one. Improves your mood. Yeah, absolutely. I've had people actually reverse their depression, go away. Inflammation decreases, improves your skin. It's amazing. Okay, it's really amazing. So it's incredible. Everything functions so much better the way it's supposed to. I love what Ann Wigmore says, is that the food that you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. You get to choose. You get to choose, my friend. So if you want to pay attention to all the brainwashing that you've gone through and all the programming that you've gone through, and you want to believe it all, then you're choosing for yourself. But if you choose to have this food, it can really make a big difference. It can reverse your chronic conditions. Every time you eat or drink, you're either feeding disease or you're fighting it. You get to choose. You get to choose. This is my food pyramid that I developed based on science, based on neurology. So food either stimulates the sympathetic branch of the central nervous system and puts us in the state of survival and stress. That's going to be all meat, dairy, oils, processed foods, refined sugar, deep fried foods, all sodas and carbonated beverages. Legal drugs include caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, and excitotoxins include MSG and aspartame. Those all stimulate the sympathetic branch of the central nervous system. To promote health, stay with all plants and all whole foods. So starchy veggies, whole grains, legumes, greens, colorful veggies, and fruit. Yes. This will work, and it works really well. Simple rule of thumb, have your refrigerator look like a garden, teeming with life, rather than a morgue rotting of death. Okay, I did autopsies, let me tell you. I can't stand that smell, okay? I cannot stand it. Oh, it's horrible, it's horrific, all right? Ugh. Get me out of there, all right? So I stay away from, when I go to the supermarket, I do not go near the meat aisle at all. I can't handle it. It's just horrible. So I go here. I go, notice that they're at the opposite ends of the market. Okay. The side of the market that's really like this is at the other end. That's where you want to go. So go there, go where all the produce is. That's where you want to be at. All right. So now, next area that I want to talk about is exercise. Exercise is extremely important. We have lots of research showing the value of exercise. I have webinars showing about this. Now, what we show is that exercise actually makes you happier than having about $25,000 more a year. Isn't that incredible? Yeah, this is an amazing study, huge study out of Yale and Oxford. So it was done. So what we show is that we need about 150 minutes, anywhere between 150 to 300 minutes of exercise per week is the optimal sweet spot for exercise. Don't do too little, don't do too much. And we also show in studies that those people who started to exercise even at midlife around age 40, they less likely to develop dementia after age 65 than those who remained sedentary. So it's never too late to start. Never too late to start. I don't care what age you are. If you've been sedentary, start walking. You want to start. And it's interesting too, when we've done the research out of, this is out of the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, that we showed the greatest reduction of risk of dementia, 0% from bicycling, swimming, or playing golf, 35% from reading, 47% from doing crossword puzzles, but 76% from dancing frequently? Holy moly. All right, start dancing. Start dancing. All right, get to dancing. We need to dance. All right, it really is one of the most healthiest activities that we can engage in as we age is partner dancing. It's fantastic. We have research out of Japan. What they did is they took groups of people and they actually taught them ballroom dancing, and they showed improvements in cognition, improvements in health. It's extraordinary. I mean, really amazing stuff. So we want to dance. So make sure you're dancing. All right, next area we want to talk about is stress. Now, this past year has been rather stressful, wouldn't you all agree? All right, for a lot of people, there's been so many sources of stress. Yes, health and spouses and no time and work and business problems are the normal that we experience, but this last year we've had a lot more. We've had a lot more sources of stress to contend with. And the effects of these stress have been absolutely amazing and innumerable, all right, because that affects us physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually in so many different ways. I've come across so many clients and people who have been experiencing a lot more stress in their life because of this past year and a little bit more than a year now that we've been dealing with this. So one of the things that's real important to really understand. I've learned this, and I love being able to share this from one of my teachers, Dan Millman, and he says that life is not suffering. Life is not suffering, okay? It's not meant to be at all. It's just that you will suffer it rather than enjoy it until you let go of your mind's attachments and just go for the ride freely, no matter what happens. So we have to look at our attachments. We have to look at our beliefs. We have to challenge and choose our beliefs very, very wisely and question our beliefs because we get into trouble because of that. Now, I'm going to give you one tip today as far as stress management. One of the most significant, impactful tips to decrease your stress levels. Because what we show in the research is this, and Dr. Andrew Huberman actually is an incredible, brilliant scientist. And what he showed is that this is probably the quickest hack to really go from the sympathetic state to your parasympathetic state. And that is to practice controlled breathing in a particular way. Now, he studied animals and human beings, and what we all do, all animals do this. Now, if you've got a dog or a cat, you watch and you can see this. It's really amazing. What we do while we're asleep is we have this particular type of breathing that we do periodically. And what we'll do is we'll inhale, pause, and then inhale more deeply and expand. And then we have a deep, long exhalation. Now practice doing that right now. So inhale, pause, inhale more deeply, and then exhale. Now, what Dr. Huberman showed is that particular style of breathing, we do it when we're sleeping, but we don't consciously do it. But if you consciously practice this breathing, it's the quickest way to actually stimulate going into the parasympathetic state, shifting your brain chemistry, shifting your neurotransmitters, lowering your blood pressure, lowering your heart rate. Everything starts to improve very quickly. So it's a really great technique. So if you have any stress, I always teach my clients, I want you to practice breathing this way frequently. So I asked one of my clients, how many times a day are you breathing consciously? And you're practicing this technique. And so because she's got a very stressful job as a tax accountant, you can imagine. Okay, so it's really important to practice this style of breathing. Okay, now we'll talk about unhealthy substances. Now, we've been brainwashed, a lot of people have been brainwashed to believe that smoking is actually cool, but it's not. It's not cool and it's not healthy at all. Not just for cancer, but for heart disease and many other reasons, it's important to quit. Most people know this. It's very toxic to us, and it increases the risk of chronic disease and death. So what I tell people all the time who do smoke, I'd say, look, you got to change your belief system and you got to do the reading to be able to do that. So here's a great book that I recommend by Alan Carr. It's Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking. Absolutely fantastic. Every single one of my clients who has read this has quit smoking for good. And it's made a powerful difference. Really great. Another harmful substance is alcohol. All right, so alcohol, I got news for you. American College of Lifestyle Medicine is very clear about this. There's no safe level, none whatsoever. Okay, there's no safe level. In fact, when we look at the research, what we see is this, that alcohol contributes to high blood pressure. It increases the risk of stroke, damages heart muscle, leads to heart failure, causes abnormal heart rhythms, and adversely interacts with medications. Not good, not good. And that's just heart disease. If we look at cancer, the picture is not good either. So, and just this came out just last year in the summertime, August 13th of 2020, the American Medical Association in a statement letter to the Dietary Guidelines Committee for Americans, they said there is no safe threshold for alcohol and cancer risk. No safe threshold for alcohol and cancer risk. The consumption of up to 1.5 drinks per day accounts for an estimated 26 to 35% of all alcohol attributable US cancer deaths. I hope that lands for the people that it needs to lands for. And then in fact, when we do the equivalence between cigarettes and alcohol, this is what we can see, that one bottle of wine is equivalent to 5 cigarettes in men and about 10 cigarettes in women. That's significant. That's significant. All right, next area that I want to talk about is very important. That is sleep. Sleep is critical for our health. And it's really interesting. We just went through a very interesting phenomenon that occurs in many parts of the world. And what we just saw is this, all right? So this phenomenon has been occurring for decades, about 1.6 billion people, probably even more now, 70 countries, 2 times a year. In the spring, we just went through this. When we changed to daylight savings time, the next day, there's a 24% increase in heart attacks the following day. 24%. Just by losing 1 hour of sleep, because we spring forward, we lose an hour. In the fall, when we change back to standard time, what we see is a 21% decrease in heart attacks the following day. So it's quite profound, the difference that sleep makes. In fact, what we say in lifestyle medicine is that shorter sleep is equal to shorter life. We see that sleep apnea increases the risk of Alzheimer's by 70%. We need 7 to 8 hours of sleep in order to detox the brain. We see this in all chronic disease conditions. And that's when we get that longer sleep, that's when our memories are consolidated, is in the deep sleep that happens in the second half of our sleep. So it's really important. So the tips to help you. Number 1, use your bedroom only for sleep and intimacy. That's it. Get on a regular schedule. Go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. Go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. Go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. That is the number 1 recommendation of all the scientific organizations. Now, get warmer before bedtime. That can help. A bath or a shower, wearing socks, non-caffeinated herbal tea is very healthy for you. Increase your daytime exposure to sunlight, especially if you're traveling. You want to get the sunlight and get your circadian rhythm reestablished. Increase your physical activity, because if you're physically active, it helps your brain to actually establish your circadian rhythm in a better way. Power naps are usually okay, but try to keep them under about 30 minutes usually. If you're really tired because you're sleep deprived, you're going to have to take longer naps. Yes, that's understandable. All right, so don't split hairs on this, just on a general basis, that's fine. All right, so now let's talk about the final area, and that is relationships. Relationships, very important for our health, very important in lifestyle medicine. I learned a long time ago that when it comes to relationships, it is a very good thing to practice the golden rule. The golden rule, as you probably well know, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But what I discovered is that this rule, as good as it is, it's flawed. Yeah, it's flawed. All right. You have to understand, challenge your beliefs. Okay. It's a good rule, but it's flawed because it presumes that other people want to be treated the same way you do. So we have to practice the platinum rule. The platinum rule is do unto others as they would want done to them. It's not about you. Okay. So if we actually practice the platinum rule, we can really make a difference in the quality of our relationships. That's amazing. It's amazing. So remember that every person, don't forget that a person's greatest emotional need is to feel appreciated. Is to feel appreciated. So your homework assignment is to practice from these two books. Read these two books, The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. Absolutely gold. If you have a relationship or you want to be in a relationship, you better read this book. And then if you're in the workplace, you want to read The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace, because if you read this book and practice this book, I promise you conflicts will go way down. And you'll have a much more harmonious workplace. It's absolutely amazing how it works. It works fabulously well. So the 5 languages, just to give you a quick synopsis. So number 1 is tangible gifts. Some people love getting the Starbucks gift cards or other kinds of gifts, but not everybody. Okay, some people would rather have quality time with you in a meaningful conversation. Others would rather experience the words of affirmation. They need to hear, thank you, I appreciate you. Others need to feel the physical touch. They need the physical connection in an appropriate way, of course, but whether it's a hug, a fist bump, or a high five. But others still need to experience you contributing to them and what they're doing with acts of service, helping them out, all right, shouldering up with them when they're busy and working hard. What we show in the research is that most of us are wired to be predominantly wanting 1 or 2 of these languages as our predominant language of appreciation and love. And not everybody's the same. So it behooves us to discover what is their language. How do they feel appreciated? So if you have trouble remembering the 5 languages, all you have to do is think of tacos, and it's really simple, all right? Just think of tacos and you'll remember it, all right? So just think of tacos, as Joshua Perez says. So words of affirmation. Oh, your tacos are so delicious. All right, and then acts of service. I made you these tacos just for you, yes. And then gifts, receiving gifts. Oh, here's a taco I got for you from our favorite taqueria. Yes, just for you. And then quality time. Oh, you worked so hard today. Let's go out for tacos together, okay? And then my favorite, physical touch. Oh, please let me hold you like a taco. Just have a sense of humor, you'll be just fine. In the end, my friends, it's this. Why I choose to eat a whole food, plant-based diet is because of love, leadership, and vitality. And when it comes to being able to practice love, my recommendation to everyone is to choose love. Choose love. Choose to practice living a life of love. You choose love. Not for love. If not for love, then why? Okay? Could only be fear. So choose love. Choose to love yourself. Choose to love others. Choose to love all animals. Choose to love this planet. Choose to love your life. Really, choose to love your life. And then if you do that, then you might be able to finish your life, as Hunter Thompson says. Life is not a journey to the grave with the intention to arrive safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, wow, what a ride. And I hope you're willing to take life on like that. For life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all, as Helen Keller said. So, my friends, would you like to make the rest of your life the best of your life? And I hope the answer to that question is a resounding yes. So imagine for a moment, what would that look like for you? Hopefully filled with energy and vitality. But where are you now? Are you there yet? Chances are you're not. So how will you get from where you are now to where you want to be? How will you get from any place to another place? You need a plan. But do you have a plan that's actually proven to work? Chances are you don't. Most people don't. I do. I have a 4-point plan, and this is what I instituted 26 years ago. And it's based on everything that I've learned from sports and from psychology and everything else. Now, number one, as Einstein said, the significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. So we've got to begin from within and rewire our subconscious mind, our mindset, our attitude, our thinking, our consciousness and awareness. We've got to do that work here because our beliefs will get in the way if we don't address them. Secondly, we need a proven strategy because doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results, as we talked about, is insanity. So let's use an evidence-based approach. Third, we need to be intelligent in creating a structure for support and accountability because nobody, and I mean nobody, is successful by themselves. And then fourth, still all of this is not enough. We need to establish a track record of consistency because only with practice do we develop the habits that produce results. Habits produce results. So that's what we need. This is a 4-point plan. It's no mystery, no shortcuts. Sorry, I don't operate with shortcuts. All right. So I have several things to offer you. One is I do one-on-one lifestyle medicine consultations. This is where I work with you individually to help you design and develop a plan to get you started. So this is a great way as a launch pad for you. And then in addition, I have a group coaching program. It's phenomenal. This is great because not only do you get the coaching, but you also get to build community. And that is my design for this program. And it's so wonderful. So I got this coming up. It's going to be online starting June 5th. And it's going to be phenomenal. It's an amazing program. People produce amazing results. And I have a very extensive curriculum that we go through in the first 2 weekends, followed by 12 weeks of group coaching with me. And it's phenomenal. One of my graduates is Donna. Donna is a retired nurse, and she came into my program. She had some questions for me. She said, Ruben, I've been plant-based already for 8 years, but I've still got some health issues. I got some weight, I've got some blood pressure issues, and I still want to be able to get healthy. How can we do this? And so she came into the program and she did it several times, and it was beautiful because each time she got better and better and better and better with her results and her lifestyle. So she started to fine tune everything in her life. And here she is, 60 pounds lighter in 2020, January, this is a little over a year ago, 70 pounds lighter. And this is her just recently. I mean, she's doing 8, 9, 10, 11-mile walks every day. And she's just amazing. And she will tell you she is living her best life right now. And she's extraordinary. In addition, I also do lifestyle medicine workshops in the workplace. I'm on the committee for lifestyle medicine in the workplace with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. I love being able to transform work environments and organizations. It's awesome, awesome stuff. And then here's my contact information. I'm going to send you an email with all this information and more. You're going to get all the slides. You're going to get the recording for the webinar. You're going to get all kinds of resource information. I'm going to send you recipes. I'm going to send you all kinds of stuff. So thank you. Let's see if there's any questions. Any questions, unmute yourself so I can answer your questions, all right? So you are live, direct. And no, it's not Saturday Night Live. That was last night. Okay, who's got some questions for me? Questions, anything at all, anything at all. Questions, you are on. Okay, I'm all yours.
Can you explain, something about diet? Like, I think that what I originally learned years ago in school is different than what I've been hearing lately when people are doing a lot of fasting diets and so on. And I was just wondering, how does it work that, like, if you eat a calorie deficit, do you burn fat or muscle, and what makes the difference? Like, at what point does it switch from one to the other? What causes those decisions by the body?
Great question. I love that question. I do. It's really great. So that information that you learned is the same information I learned a long time ago based on very antiquated understanding of physiology. So it completely ignores the central nervous system. So it's just looking at things from what we call a kinetic perspective, which is just the physics of energy. That's very, very simple. However, here's how it works. The central nervous system, you've probably been in some of my seminars already where I've talked about the central nervous system because it runs the show. So we are either surviving or thriving, and that's all there is. So what happens is that when we are in the parasympathetic state, our body works extremely well. It's very efficient. In fact, we produce energy from the food that we eat so well, it's extraordinary. It's really amazing. So we'll take food in, we'll take all this amylose and amylopectin, convert it to glycogen inside the cells, and then we'll convert that to pyruvate and then formulate it into adenosine triphosphate. It's phenomenal. It's amazing how this all works. Now, what happens is that when people have excess weight and they want to lose the weight, they're trying to focus on the outcome and they're not focusing on the process. I'll say that again. They're focusing on the outcome and they're not focusing on the process. So the process of being able to utilize excess fat stores means that we need to be in the parasympathetic state. We need to be first and foremost in the parasympathetic state. And what we need to be able to do is not create a caloric deficit. What we need to be able to do is ramp up the metabolism. This is what's so oftentimes mistaken. Everybody's looking at this and they say, well, how does the body burn more fat? Well, you've got to have more mitochondria. And nobody ever talks about mitochondrial proliferation. Have you heard that ever talked about in a weight loss diet? No, nobody's talking about that, but that's the secret and it's incredible. Mitochondrial proliferation means that we stimulate more mitochondria in the cells, and we can actually do this through exercise. And what we do is we build up more pistons in the engine to burn more fat all day, all night long. That's what we're able to do. Now we have to have the right fuel as well. So a caloric deficit, here's what a caloric deficit will do, like intermittent fasting or a low calorie diet. What that does, as soon as we go into a caloric deficit, the brain says, oh my God, you're in the desert. It's a famine situation. And now what happens? In the sympathetic state, the brain says, red alert, red alert, red alert. Any food you get, store a higher percentage of anything you eat as the most caloric density product we have in our body. Store it away for the future. And we will store a higher percentage of anything we eat. Doesn't matter what the quality is, we'll store a higher percentage of it as fat. My friends, that's how we store body fat. So Renee, I'm gonna recommend that you definitely check out my Lose Weight, Feel Great webinar. It's fantastic, lots of good information. I go into this in more depth. But the thing is, the brain runs the show. So you put the body in the sympathetic state for whatever reason, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, then immediately your body says famine and it's going to store a higher percentage of it as fat. And that doesn't work because it ends up being this absolute game of trying to lose weight. We focus on the outcome instead of the process of trying to build a healthier body. Who's got another question? Renee, I hope that answered your question. It's a short brief. I've got a whole 2-hour webinar on. So who's got another question for me? Anything?
Hi, Coach Ruben. This is Arvern.
Arvern, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Doing great.
What's your question?
Actually, it's kind of a follow-on on Renee's question, but in the opposite direction. Focusing on that process. Is there a way to focus on the process to gain weight properly?
Yes, absolutely. Really great question. So the same thing, we have to focus on the process not the outcome. Because a lot of people think, oh, I want to have more weight. I need to build my weight up. So what do? They drink all this protein shakes because muscle's made up of protein. I'm going to drink all these protein shakes. I've actually checked the body fat of people who were doing that, and they ended up getting fatter. They gained more body fat. Okay, they didn't gain more muscle by eating all this excess protein. So it doesn't work. So it's the same thing. Muscle builds when you train it properly and you feed it properly. And in order to build muscle, you have to be extremely consistent, and you have to be able to challenge the body with the right training, the right exercises. So it's the right balance of cardio and strength training. You've got to be able to do it right. Okay. And there's a great book for you, Arvin, and it's Shred It by Robert Cheek. Fantastic material. Now, this is a guy who was a marathoner and a distance runner, and he's become a bodybuilder. So he's put on muscle. So he's written that book. He's got a lot of material in there about how to actually gain muscle and being able to do that. Now, I remember years ago, I had a client named Eric. Eric was scrawny. He was scrawny as could be. I mean, 5'10", 127 pounds.
Whoa.
Yeah. Okay. Former U.S. Marine. Now, when I started working with him, he came in and I started working with him. I was his personal trainer and nutrition consultant. And so really, really scrawny. And he said, I feel like if I turn sideways, I disappear. And he said, I feel really weak. I feel tired. And so I did a full assessment of his entire lifestyle, looked at what he was doing and what he was eating. And he was eating a lot of processed fast food. I mean, a lot. And he just couldn't put on the weight. He was eating all this junk. I mean, he was eating cheeseburgers and pizzas and sodas and everything else. And he just couldn't put on the weight. He was actually losing weight because he was in the sympathetic state. He was eating all sympathetic food. So we started to make a difference. I started to teach him about how to actually put his body in the parasympathetic state, eating the right kinds of foods, whole food, plant-based, strictly, all right? No junk, no processed foods, all right? And we started to do the work of training. Now, I'm not gonna kid you. This is hard work. I'm not gonna kid you at all, because you wanna build muscle, you have to train it, and you have to train it really well, okay? Now, most people don't know how to train the muscle to build muscle, because you have to be able to train the strength, which is slow twitch fibers, and you got to train the size, which is through the fast twitch fibers. You got to do some hard work. And there were days when I said, all right, we finished up doing, like, I'll give you an example. I said, all right, we're going to build your chest. So today we're going to work your chest. All right, we're going to build your chest. And so we started off with bench press, and we did pec deck, we did cable flies, we did all kinds of exercises, the saw exercise, and then the last exercise, all right, and then he would work really, really hard. He was working hard. I mean, this is tough work, and it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. And I said, all right, last exercise, incline push-ups as fast as you can go, until you can't do it anymore. And then he would do it, and he would just rip out his push-ups so fast. I mean, he was doing as quick as he could with no extra weight. And then he'd get to a certain number and he'd collapse. And he would be so sore. And that's what you got to get to. You got to get to that point where you're really training your muscle and you're training intelligently. Most people don't know how to do it. And so by the time, let's see, it was 12 weeks later, Eric was, he'd now reduced his body fat. He was down to 6.5% body fat, he went from 10% down to 6.5% body fat. And he went all the way to 145 pounds of muscle. He was lean and clean. And he actually, and the thing about it, the thing that really upset me was that he won the prize for a trip to Hawaii, and I didn't get anything. All right. So I hope that answers the question. All right, so that's great. Let's see.
Thank you.
All right, so very, very good. Let's see. Questions here. Let me look on the chat window. Okay, let's see. Are chocolate chip cookies plant-based? Okay, I love that question. All right, really, really good one. Okay, so it depends on where they're made. You can find chocolate chip cookies that are vegan. It's possible to find them. Yes, it is. Most of the time, they're not. Okay, so most of the time, cookies that have milk and eggs in them, so you have to be careful about that. And we have to look about the sources of fat. So how are they made? It is possible to have healthy options. I'm going to send you some recipes. All right, I'm going to send you about 2,000 recipes that you can find some healthy options for you so you can do that. Okay, all right. Yeah, Noah's Bagels have the cookies that are, yeah, they do. Yeah, so does the DoubleTree Inn. So, yeah, chocolate chip cookies. Yes, I know. I grew up loving chocolate chip cookies. Yeah, but you have to look and see how they're made. That's really a great question. All right, let's see. Any other questions? Anything else? Anybody? Any other questions? I love having that question. That was good. Okay, great. Well, let me wrap up here. So, thank you for being here. Thank you so much. It's really an honor to spend this time with you. Thank you for participating. Please, I have a request. I have a request of all of you. Please, 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 please share this. Share this with people that you know, people that you love, even people that you don't know. Love them anyway. All right, share this information. We need this information to get out into the world. The American College of Lifestyle Medicine is passionate about eliminating chronic disease from the face of the planet, and so am I. So we need your help. We can't do it all. And I'm an ambassador for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So please share this widely. You could save lives, really, literally. You could really make a difference. So thank you so much. And next week, I'm going to be doing a lifestyle medicine open forum. It's one of my favorite things to do. So in this forum, what I'm going to do is everybody comes on and it's just a free-for-all of asking questions of any kind, anything at all, anything goes relative to lifestyle medicine, hopefully. All right, so, but ask your questions and it's going to be great. If you have friends, if you have family members, if you have people that are, they're interested or curious about becoming healthy and they have some questions, this will be a wonderful opportunity for them to engage with me and ask their questions, and I'll be happy to answer all of their questions. So it'll be wonderful. I'm inviting people to send me emails ahead of time so I have a list of them, and it's going to be a great opportunity. This will be the third time that I'm doing this. I love this experience. So I'm just going to open the door for 2 hours, basically. And the last 2 times I had more than enough questions. So we're going to have fun. It's a wonderful opportunity to just ask me any questions related to diet and exercise, anything around lifestyle and becoming healthier, whatever the case may be. So thank you so much. Have a fabulous, phenomenal, fantastic, fun week, all right? And live a great life and love your life. All right, see you next time. Bye.